the second episode of Shock Therapy. I am one of your hosts, Wilson, joined by
Toast.
And this is the spinoff of our YouTube channel, Shock and Not Toy Reviews. Check it out, where we talk about toy topics and different things. Let's start off with a little bit of news. We're going to discuss, it looks like Storm Collectibles has Golden Axe.
Yes.
What is Golden Axe?
80s video game.
Okay. Was it a fighting game?
Side scroller.
Okay.
Maybe it was 90s.
And you're very excited about this for what reason?
It's a seamless body.
Uh-huh.
So the joints, specifically things like knees and elbows that we've talked about being ugly before.
Yeah.
On the YouTube channel.
Right.
Are not visible.
I am looking at that right now. Yeah, his the front doesn't have any visible things. So what do you think it is? How are they doing that? It's a covering over the joints?
I'm going to guess that it's like Lobo's torso.
Oh, hollow?
I don't know if specifically hollow, but like I can mentally already squeeze his torso and feel how empty that is inside.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with the arms, but I'm going to guess it's some type of rubberish overlay over some type of skeleton. So there's got to be something in there.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, and it looks, the knees you said are the same?
Yeah.
Wow. Be interesting to see if they go forward with this kind of style thing. But it would only work with skin, right? I would imagine they could do something else. You think?
So there's a couple of other companies that have done seamless bodies.
Yeah.
Storm is a large scale, even if they claim it's 112.
Uh-huh.
And this is the bad guy. He's even taller. I don't know specifically how tall he is, but he's probably going to be like 8 or 9 inches tall.
Okay.
So it's, I don't know. I think they have more options than someone that's doing 6-inch figures.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen videos on a couple. I haven't seen any in hand, and they look pretty impressive. The thing that's concerning is the joints and where that overlay flexes and bends, and whether or not it's going to crack over time.
Yeah.
Or if it looks natural.
Yeah.
bent.
That would suck to have a hole rip in it.
So the promo images for Storm Collectibles Death Adder look pretty good.
Yeah, that's who we're looking at now. So do you remember this guy from the game?
No.
Okay. Are you getting this thing?
No. I'm just
just
impressed
excited.
by
I'm just impressed.
So it showed up in the news feed this morning, and I'm like, hey, that's impressive.
Yeah. No, it is. It looks like it's pretty cool. I'd like to see them. Hopefully if it works, they'll keep doing that in the future.
So Golden Axe is one of those games that I snuck out in grade school to the bowling alley down the street, and I would play.
Really?
The arcade game, yeah.
Was it bloody? Is that why you couldn't play it?
No, I wasn't allowed to cross a certain street.
Oh, okay. Is that where the gang members were?
No, it was it's a highway.
Oh.
So,
yeah.
like, for safety reasons, I wasn't supposed to, and I did
Sounds
anyway.
right.
Yeah.
Sounds like your parents were doing the right thing.
Yeah, they were good. I was
sure.
bad.
Fair enough. And now, on to the segment that we call Todd's Tweets. What are Todd's tweets? It is, we look at Todd McFarlane's Twitter. He does some great stuff. And we'll read one of them. Let's see what he's got. He's got a sneak peek of Spawn 313. Let's go with that. So, what were you talking about? Chain gang. Explain some of this. We were having a pre-episode talk.
Right.
And there's something going on with Spawn. I am a longtime Spawn fan. I have every issue, been reading it through the good and the very, 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 very bad since the beginning. It just hit me at the right time. And so you're saying now he wants a Spawn book out every week, or he just wants 2 Spawn books?
So he's going from 1 that he's had going for decades,
right,
to 2.
Mm-hmm.
There hasn't been any official announcement yet about what that second book is, but in interviews he did a couple of months ago, he was talking about having a world of characters within Spawn, but how he's always been focused on Al, and I guess for a while Jim, and how they could have their own stories, be their own book. So he was talking about possibly naming it Chain Gang because of spawns and chains, obviously. But he wasn't...
He loves chains!
He wasn't settled at the time on that title. But
And he shouldn't be.
it's popping up in solicitations. So I think maybe February or March. I don't remember specifically. It might be February.
So, okay, here's the thing, right? He has been setting up for a long time multiple spawns. He's bringing in She-Spawn. He's brought her in.
Gunslinger.
The Gunslingers now come in. Medieval Spawns popped up multiple times. And then the Jim Downing is back as some kind of something.
So I just restarted reading at issue 312.
Okay.
I had previously left off at around 28. Yeah, I've always sort of tangentially paid attention to Spawn, and because I have a renewed interest in Spawn toys.
Yeah.
And I recently said this repeatedly, gone through the crawl space and rediscovered the Spawn toys from my youth. I'm like, hey, this was cool. I still kind of like it, and I was curious about the books, so I started with 312. I grabbed 311 last week.
Chain Gang, Todd. Don't make it the name of the title. Like,
So what he was talking about at the time was being focused on solo Spawn and recognizing that characters like Spider-Man and Batman can have new content on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't think I'm being greedy by going from one book to two.
It's not okay.
But his dream would be to have new Spawn material in shops every week.
That's fair. The Spider-Man and that those characters kind of lend themselves to having material weekly. I don't think Spawn does. And he's tried multiple titles before, and they failed.
Well, he talked about that in this interview, too. He was talking about how before he was just sort of doing things because he had an idea, and he's like, here's this cool thing, and it may or may not connect to the other stuff.
Yeah.
And now he has a plan. So
sounds like the plan is worse.
Hopefully,
Curse
it
of the
works out for
Spawn.
him.
Curse of the Spawn was awesome. And Curse of the Spawn started out as like what I wanted, like just telling stories of different spawns throughout time.
Yeah.
You'd have a 4-issue storyline. It was awesome. And then if he wants to do a weekly book or whatever with Spawn related, he should do that. I don't need like a continuing ongoing of the Chain Gang or whoever's going to be in it, because let me tell you, not that impressed with him bringing She-Spawn back. They're calling her She-Spawn in the book.
Yes. And in those 2 issues, she doesn't really do much, but she looks cool.
I mean, yeah, she's got really long hair. She's kind of like that in Humans.
Cool.
Gunslinger is awesome. Well, thanks, Todd.
It's interesting.
It
and
is.
Hopefully he brings in creators that write better than he does.
Oh, he's not that bad. I mean, he's not that good, but he's not that bad. The topic for this episode is customs and customizing toys. For those who don't know, Toast and I do custom work. You do more toy custom work. I do custom work on models like Gundams, and I'm a big fan of the 30-minute mission kits. Literally, you can put those once you get going and know how to put them together. You can put them together in 30 minutes, and they have different styles. There's 2 main armies, but each one has like an air type, a ground type, even underwater type. They have blast effects that you can get. Really fun stuff. So I'm big into the modeling. But what do you customize? How much have you done it? Yeah, let's go from there.
Okay. So I know that we've talked about this before. I don't remember if it made it onto an episode or not, but
probably not.
I started customizing toys as a kid. I was taking apart mostly, I think, X-Men toys and repainting them.
Oh.
Yeah. And even back then, I was doing head swaps on things.
Wow.
So I got out of toys for a couple of decades, and then I got back into it. And again, that sort of dissatisfaction of like just something not quite right and thinking, I can make this better.
Right. Yeah.
I started up again. And again, it started with the head swaps.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this looks good. I'm just going to put this head on this guy. And,
yeah.
Oh, that looks great. And then I'm like, well, maybe let's get some paint.
Right. Okay.
And then get an airbrush.
Yeah.
And get some more paint. and some markers.
So did you
and all this other stuff?
Did you have to do a bunch of practicing, like painting and everything like that? Because I've seen, like, what's the guy that you did from Thor Ragnarok? Rock, was that his name? Korg.
Yeah.
Looked amazing. And I was like, you
even
had to have done a ton of stuff before that.
No.
See, it looked really good.
and I was impressed with it, which is why I brought it in.
Right.
Because you don't see the stuff that I'm not impressed with.
Oh, okay.
But I think, so even before that, I did Whirl. And you guys liked Whirl.
Yeah, Whirl, you panel lined him very well.
Because I thought MMC Whirl just looked plain. And I'm like, I would just want to put some lines on them to add some accents. The color breakup is the thing I talk about most often.
Yeah.
And so I started working on Whirl. I started working on general transformers, adding color breakup or panel lining to things. And then it moved over into action figures. So guys like Korg that I thought looked cool. But I'm like, I could make them look better.
Right.
And now it's all over the place.
Yeah, it's just what you see. You were making a Fear Agent using that Jazzwares Leviathan.
That's been on hold for a while.
Has it?
I knew that I wasn't good enough to do what I wanted to do. And that's where some projects are stalled. Because I know just enough to know how little I know.
Right.
And so there's a lot of experimenting, and there's things that I don't want to screw up.
Right.
And Fear Agent was one of those that I don't want to screw it up. I did buy a second one.
Really?
I bought a second Jazzware Leviathan just in case I screwed up the first one.
Wow.
So I have a spare.
Are you going to return it if you don't screw it up?
No.
Oh.
I mean, it was like $12.
Oh,
like
fair
at that price, you can't. Like,
right.
Just,
might as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I started out panel lighting, and aside from the modeling, I would always put them together, but I never really do anything past that. Then I wanted to get into panel lining because I was looking at some of these third-party guys, and I was like, this guy would be awesome if he had more detail. And so I looked up how to do it, started out with the little pens, practiced on a couple of transformers that I didn't need, got hooked, and then I found out, and then I just started watching videos on, oh, hey, how do you weather something? How do you do, like, battle damage? And I'd buy the cheapo model kits, and even those 30-minute mission guys were good to practice on. And I just watched videos and then got that stuff. And yeah, and then I went in and I'm like, Toast can airbrush. I might as well.
Right.
And I went out, I got the Gundam marker airbrush. We can talk about that. And then I got a regular airbrush. And yeah, I don't airbrush much, but I do it with the weapons.
Oh, yeah.
And you get a nice silver paint. The problem I don't like is the paint dries on the nozzle kind of quick.
Yeah. So I got an airbrush, and I'm not super happy with it. And I don't know if it's the fault of the airbrush or if it's my fault. And just things aren't working as well as I had hoped they would with an airbrush. So I haven't been back to it for a while. But doing it on weapons, that seems like a smart idea. Because part of the problem is, so I took apart Jazzware, and the nice thing is they come apart really easily.
Do they?
Just hot water and pull.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
The hardest part was that helmet that you
right.
took apart.
Cut myself. I had to cut the helmet off and cut myself, but I got him out of there.
Just leave the fish in the helmet. I want to get back to airbrushing, and I think we were doing some remodeling in the garage, but my wife and I have this idea for there's a window in the garage, and we could set up like a desk right in front of that with a fan.
Right.
And so she has plans as well to do painting, and we're like, well, we could just make this into a paint station.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So anything that needs air, we could just set up a fan in here and do it all year round.
Yeah. See, that's really cool. I sort of have a designated space, but the basement flooded, so there's a ton of stuff, but I just kind of work where I can. And I actually like installing upgrades on stuff. That's how I started, like, first taking apart toys and figuring out how they...
You and the upgrade kits.
Yeah. I'm a nut for them. I'll spend, $20 on Devastator's balls. Why not? I mean, I'm getting other stuff than just the balls.
I did that one Nova Prime, and it was a nightmare.
See, yeah, I did Nova. So I did the Red Optimus of that kit. That's the... who did that? Oh, S&D Primo. Yeah. That was a nightmare because you had to push out the pin from the waist on your Combiners Wars Optimus. I that one up and then said, I'm going to do the combiner one because I thought he looked even better. He had those wings and stuff.
Yeah.
So I bought the white one, and I actually did better the second time, kind of knowing what to do.
See, I did Nova, and I think he looks great, and I never want to touch him again.
Yeah.
Just want to leave him stand there.
That's kind of what I did is I combined them, and then I'm like, yeah, I don't need to mess with this again.
Right.
Yeah. I also really enjoy Berg 3D print stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And he introduced me to Shapeways. And for those that don't know, Shapeways is a 3D printing site where people upload their designs and their products, and then you can go through, and there's all kinds of stuff on there. I swear I saw car parts that were 3D printed. But you can also find weapons for toys and heads for toys that you can paint yourself. And Berg is very good at designing those things.
I'm super impressed
He's
with
so good at it.
the volume that he's produced.
Yeah, I mean, he's got hands out there that he just made
Yeah, that's
for a
blows my
He-Man
mind.
toy.
Yeah.
So it will hold it the way he wants.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. And so I buy his stuff, and he's made guns for me. He's made swords and stuff. I highly recommend that you check out Shapeways, just the site in general. But also check out, I think he's Raggy Foe Smasher on Shapeways, and that's his store. He's got all kinds of cool stuff. I bought that axe that he made for the Hellboy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I think I'm giving that to somebody else.
Bunch of weapons,
Yeah.
swords, guns,
Yeah.
axes.
And so, yeah, and then I also, I practice painting on those kind of things. Like even on those, I noticed you can use a Sharpie, a silver Sharpie. And you can use that on a black, and it looks really good.
I do like the silver Sharpie because it's not super clean.
Yeah.
It leaves a little bit of, I don't know, like not necessarily dirtiness, but
A worn feel.
just unevenness.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. You get that as well with the Gundam markers. Gundam markers are basically, they're not actually marker, but they have the Gundam colors and the paint in them. And the paint basically comes out onto a nib, and that nib soaks up the paint, and then you kind of just paint in strokes, and it can, like their silvers look really good for anything. I use their markers on Shapeways stuff, and they leave like a nice worn look. They also make an airbrush that I mentioned earlier that holds those markers and then blasts the paint off of the nib
With canned air.
with canned air. And that's the problem is you got to buy the cans of air, and it's just too much of a pain in the ass. That's why I went straight up.
Well, you're also getting like bursts of color, right?
Yeah, sort of. I can get a steady one with the marker. It dries the markers out.
Oh,
So you end up having to take it out and priming it again. And that's the problem, too. You can't just steady go, And I found that for the amount that I was doing, I just didn't have enough. I needed to go straight paint.
so I've been primarily doing washes and dry brushes. So
You got to explain how to do a wash to me.
washing and dry brushing. So wash is basically you're watering the color down, and it gets into the nooks and crannies.
You're watering it down, so you take a bunch of water in it and put it in whatever color.
I've got watercolor paint markers.
Okay.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
So they're sort of Gundam marker ish,
Okay.
and that's you've got the tube and you press down on it and you free up some. I've just got some bottle caps in the bathroom, right? So I put paint into the bottle cap, put a little bit of water in there, and then you wind up with a really watery color, and you can just slather it on, and it'll dry. That's how I did Mandalorian,
Oh, okay.
because I thought the Mandalorian looked too clean,
Right.
both Hasbro and Figure Arts.
Yeah.
So the first I did a dull coat, because most of those plastics there's a sheen to it, which is what I did the Predator too. I wanted to take the sheen off to give it a more cloth or skin tone.
Okay.
So that was the first step for both those figures, and then I did various washes and dry brushes to dirty the clothes.
So that's mainly what that is for, is to take off maybe the bright pop of something, or to make it appear kind of dirtier and muted.
I used to do coloring more often just on paper, you know that I've got an example here in the store.
Yeah.
So I did a lot with colored pencils years ago, and I would blend the hell out of those. Like what should have been a blue color,
Right.
I would use blue and probably green and grays and some white and some black, and I would use probably 6 different colors to achieve one color. And that's basically what I'm doing with multiple washes on action figures now.
Wow.
Is another one I did was the World War II Captain America.
Oh, yeah.
So I dirtied up his pants by putting about 6 different colors onto them.
Well, how do you decide what color to use?
Gut.
Really?
Yeah.
So what colors did you use on his pants?
He had just like tan pants, right? So I used tan and brown and green, I think.
So
and
what
then,
made you decide green? Just to give it a dusty or a
you know,
kind of
like,
grass stain?
Yeah, kind of grassy.
Okay.
He's out in the wild.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Just gut.
Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, for weathering and stuff, I also learned for the kits, at least they have weathering pens again. They're paint ones, but they smear real well. And I watched videos and just practiced on that, and those work really well. I suggest some Gundam pens like that do the weathering if you're starting off. And then I found out that a great way to do weathering as well, they have Tamiya. Is that what that company is called? Tamiya make weathering kits, and it's basically like makeup. It's like a little makeup container.
Oh, I haven't seen this.
Small rectangle makeup container with a applicator that's like the padded makeup thing, and then it's got a brush on the other side, and then like 3 kinds of, I don't know what you even call it, paints or whatever, like pastels.
This sounds interesting. I gotta see this.
And they make soot, rust, snow, all kinds of stuff. And you just put it on that thing, and you just smear it on there after you've top coated your guys. I should bring them in.
Wow.
And show you. And it works really good. Really good. You just have to make sure you get it on there real well. And then also a great way to do like battle damage is to get a kind of textured sponge, do some black paint, dip it in there, and just get a light coat, and then you just dab it on the areas.
I want to do some of that. I haven't yet.
And then you do silver over the black.
So one of the other toys that I'm working on, one of the 90s Spawn toys, I can't remember what his name is. He's like an armored rhino.
Oh.
You remember this guy?
No.
I think he was part of Total Chaos.
Probably.
Anyway.
Rhino Spawn.
So he looks really cool, but the armor, he's got all sorts of, it looks like a really great wash all over the skin. So he's got this gray skin, and then he's got black down in all of the cracks and grooves and stuff. And I'm like, I could make this armor look better.
Yeah.
And so I started with various paints, Sharpies, and I've been working on his armor.
Yeah, when you get to like battle damage and stuff, I can show you. I can even bring in. I bought one of those big car sponges.
One of the other things.
That, yeah.
So one of the other things is I got Rustoleum, because Rustoleum comes in metallic colors. So I got.
What is Rustoleum?
It's this basically spray paint for various outdoor things, like outdoor furniture, for instance. If you want to protect it.
Sure.
From rust, you could spray this stuff on. And I've got like a battled pewter.
Huh.
And it comes in different metallic shades. So at some point,
you're gonna try that?
This Rustoleum is going on the Rhino.
Wow. And those are kind of your practice toys then, or older toys that you don't like give a about anymore?
I think they were intended to be, and then I start liking them, and then I'm like, well, I don't want to screw it up.
Yeah.
But
Rhino Spawn, I think.
I did get some Gundam kits that, again, were meant to be practice, because I'm like, it's super cheap, and I don't really care about Gundam.
Yeah.
But I like building kits and things. So I did get some Gundam kits that I meant to be for practice, and they've been sitting unbuilt. Like I clipped everything, and I mostly put it together, and then I took it back apart in order to paint it, and it's been sitting in the box ever since.
I'm telling you, dude, those 30-minute missions, you can pick up a guy, and they're like $10 to $15.
That might be my speed.
And every single one is put together the same way, even though the pieces may look, and the pieces are all located in the same spot. I don't even look at the instructions anymore.
That might be my speed.
Yeah. And literally you can put it together. My 9-year-old put one together.
Nice.
So, I recommend those. So yeah, I think we've touched on a lot of stuff that we like to do. If you guys out there have any ideas or suggestions of customizing things, or want to let us know kind of the skills that you use, go ahead and email them to us at, what's that email again?
Shock Therapy Toys.
shocktherapytoys@gmail. And also feel free to email us with any topics, ideas, or things you'd like to hear us discuss on the show.
Yep.
And check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/ShockandAwedToyReviews. And until next time, everybody, toast. It was a pleasure as usual.
Thank you.
Bye.